Welcome to the Wealthy SAP Consultant Podcast with your host, Anita, where we empower SAP consultants to deliver premium services by showcasing their expertise to the world. In each episode, we dive deep into strategies, tips, and success stories to help SAP consultants like you elevate your consultancy game, attract high-paying clients, and maximize your revenue potential. Get ready to unlock the secrets to success in the SAP consulting world and position yourself as a top-tier consultant. To connect further and explore personalized strategies for your consulting business, schedule a strategy call with our team by clicking the link below. Enjoy the show.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going there?
Oh, there we go. There.
Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting somewhere. How you doing?
Excellent.
We made it.
You look so familiar. Where have we met before?
We talked once, like God. I mean, it must be 9 months ago. I was
Yes.
like, "Hey, you ever need a sub for this?" And you're like, "Nope." Good talking to you. And then you had some good advice for me and some stuff that I took to heart on one of my speaking things.
Oh,
Um,
good.
that was helpful for what it was worth. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. I was like, I know I recognize him from
Yeah.
somewhere. Where do we know each other?
Also, like I probably used the same library meeting room last time with the turned around books, and so I bet that's also familiar.
Okay. No, it was it was definitely your fave.
Okay.
Yeah.
Look, I feel like in business there's also just like a lot of middle-aged white guys with shaved heads too, and like the fleece is not helping me stand out in that regard either. So it's like honestly, it could have been anybody at that rate. But hey, if you actually recognize me, your facial recognition is better than mine because I never recognize anybody.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Actually, I'm kind of moving myself into a direction of needing some subs. So
Oh,
it's
really?
fun that we're actually talking again
Oh, cool.
because that
You got
answer.
their champagne problem.
It's getting closer to a yes every day, for sure.
You're starting to kill more than you can eat.
Yeah, I mean, it's all good, like, right? The work that we all do, yeah, it's all amazing, right? It's
Yeah.
so good. And yes, be able to have, I don't know, Chris, like what I've noticed this year, there's so much business.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
There's so much business going on around there, so much business going on everywhere where we are, and being able to I guess it's building businesses that you and I love that give us the freedom to do all the other fun things that we love to do in our life as well. And that takes more than just me. It takes more than just you.
All right.
Um, and so over the summertime, I had a team working on a lot of outbound reach and scaling that system so that we could do what we do faster. And that worked really, really well. And so now
Okay.
I'm like, oh, let's go.
Did you use a partner for that, or did you just hire some people?
I hired some people, right? So I had one staff member that's been with me. She's been with me for about 3 and probably 4 years now.
Yeah.
And then we added some staff here locally. I've done virtual staff, remote staff, all that kind of stuff. And I like both.
Yeah.
Sometimes I love being able to like pick up the phone, go to meet for coffee. Hey, we're right here. Come over to the house. Sometimes I really love that part. I think that's probably like my old corporate being on big teams at SAP, kind of like, oh, actually, that part is hilarious to me because that did not reveal itself until we went through COVID because my personality style is very much more introverted. Like, I don't need people, teams,
Yeah.
what?
Just get me home. Let me go home. Yeah. And then you spend enough time at home, you're like, okay, there's another place I'd like to be.
There. And then during COVID, I had an inventory business and I was like, oh, this is so interesting. It was like the first revelation I've ever had in my entire life of like, oh, I kind of miss people like that. My husband is the opposite. He's like, right? If
Yeah.
you know anything about the disc personality profile,
Yeah.
he's a high I and I'm a DC. So I'm like task, task, task,
Oh,
task.
yeah,
Oh, let's get stuff done. Come on, come on.
yeah. Task and talk is what you do all day. Yeah, I get it.
He's like, let's go have fun, more people.
Yep, yep. My
Yeah.
wife's a high C, and I'm a high DC, which is a totally different kind of tension. It's like I live to break rules, and she exists to follow them. It's like let's not work in the same
That's
workplace.
so funny. My husband will say sometimes he's like, "You're like a selective scofflaw," and I was like,
Oh yeah,
100% I am. Like
100%. I think you got to be an entrepreneur, at least in most
that,
fields.
I mean that you and I know that's the D part of our personality. But like I'll follow rules as long as they make sense, but once they don't, like duh, no,
Yeah.
forget it.
I know. Well, I don't know. I wouldn't have been able to add value in some of the organizations I've served if I wasn't willing to just ask for permission or ask for forgiveness later instead
Yes.
of asking for permission first.
Yeah.
Because most of the best things I did were things that the person writing the check said couldn't be done or shouldn't be done, and
Yeah.
then they came around after it was done. You
Yeah.
know.
I know. Totally. Isn't that so true? I feel like that's like all of life.
Oh yeah,
But tell
absolutely.
me, like, what's going on with you? How is your business? What's happening? What do you want to talk about on the podcast?
I know, right? Let's see. This was an interesting year. So I started out this year with a lot of small business customers, and it seemed like my pipeline of that was growing, and they just fell off a cliff. A couple of them graduated and were like,
Yeah.
I am so busy, but I'm so happy, and everything we set out to do, we have done.
Yeah.
Like, let me just go do this for a while, and I'll come back when I need you again.
Okay.
Like, so that felt great. But then, like, most of that pipeline just didn't materialize. And so I ended up pivoting a little bit. I got a ton more speaking work. Got my first keynote this year. It was a big milestone for me. Yeah, I know, right? So, like,
Mm.
exciting stuff happened. And I've probably booked another 40 workshops this year.
Okay.
Um, and kind of bigger ticket stuff. And next year's already half booked. I mean, so it's like, yeah, on the speaking front, I always thought speaking would be an ad I got paid to do rather than the other way around. Like, I,
Oh,
um, and I was always in it for the lead generation. It's been okay for lead generation, but for income generation, it's been great.
yes.
I never thought I had a gift for it. So that's been good. And I've also just sort of pivoted to doing more corporate, big team coaching stuff, kind of my core competency. I mean, I love the small business coaching
Yeah.
because the difference it makes in the life of one specific person who you sit in a room with
Yeah.
is so fulfilling and powerful.
Yeah.
But there's also like with that one person in that small business in that embryonic state, like there's just to scale it to the necessary level would have been a client load of something like 20. And I always knew I wouldn't be able to do that. I just thought I would do half that.
Yeah.
But I mean, the corporate stuff is better. So I'm renewing with my two biggest corporate clients for next year. And so, yeah. So like next year, unless pinch me if something changes, but like I think I'm good for next
Yeah.
year. But I still have capacity. I mean, so I think since we talked, I took on the board chair of a local environmental nonprofit that's
Okay.
preserving and planting trees, keep
Okay.
trees in the ground here in Tennessee, where ecological nonprofits don't exactly have a lot of political clout in Tennessee. So it's a little bit of an uphill battle.
I saw an article on that. Like I'm connected with the lady that started that organization on
Oh,
LinkedIn.
really?
I think,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I am. Yes. Okay, but keep going.
Wouldn't surprise me. Yeah. So I'm doing a lot of that, and it's been amazing. Like one, I just get to keep practicing my coaching
Yeah.
chops on our ED, who's just a wonderful person. I love talking to her, and I've gotten to build organization stuff. The kind of stuff that like I'm usually on the other side from the person getting to do that. Usually my buyer is the person who goes, we need a team around this. Let's stand this up and get a consultant to help with it. Now I'm like the guy engaging the consultant and standing up the team and doing the vision stuff.
Okay.
So I've really enjoyed that side of it. It's a different kind of sandbox to play in. And at a time when I think everybody, no matter like how you feel about the world or what your point of view and worldview is, everybody has a lot of anxiety about the state of the world. And most of us just yell at each other on social media about it. And I would much rather go plant trees about it, which is what I'm doing instead. And it feels great. It's
Oh,
so good for my mental health.
I am so happy for you. Like I am so stoked. To see how far you've come and the wins that you have, like it's just this is incredible. Super
Thank you.
cool.
Yeah.
Yay.
That's kind of where things are this year. Like, yeah, so personal goals and professional goals. I feel like I'm not like exceeding my expectations tenfold yet. So like I'll get there, but like I have no complaints about where I am right now.
Okay. Would you rather have, and it can be an and, by the way, on
Uh,
the podcast, would you rather have a conversation where we kind of talk about the state of business and kind of some of the things that were struggles and wins this year to kind of set you up for next year? Or it could be an and as well. Or would you like me to coach you on something in particular to
hmm.
increase that pipeline or something like that? I don't know. Talk to me, Chris. What are you thinking?
Yeah. Here's what I'm thinking. I definitely want to advertise the business and the skill set a little bit. So like I would love for the front half to be about like what's the need I see in the world? What's the
Right.
opportunity? Everywhere I go, I see crazy high ROIs hiding in plain sight. Like, why
Mm,
is the fruit just hanging off of the tree everywhere I go?
yes.
What is it that other people don't? So that's like a good place to start. Because I can give you 10 verses on that, like desolation row. And then second half, we can go into, okay, so what's challenging about connecting with customers around us?
Yeah.
Right? Need a conversation that kind of lets us into the transitional moment. And then I'd love to pick your brain about the things you've done with your pipeline because I'm starting to do similar things. But like you just did it and it worked. And I'm still in my like second or third experiment with it and trying to figure out what works, which is
Yeah.
a totally different place to be.
Okay. I'm taking some copious notes as we're talking here
Yeah,
because
yeah.
we'll get into the conversation. I'll be like, wait a minute. We had that pre-conversation. What were we going to talk about?
No,
So
I respect your process. Like you got to do this without, if you're doing this without a producer, you got to take your own darn notes and it's hard.
And I really love the organicness of conversations. So then that actually, that's why it's actually why I take notes so that as we organically ebb and flow and go where we're supposed to go, then we also actually get back to the points. So I actually like doing both. I have been on tons of podcasts, like gazillions of them, and I've done a lot of scripted stuff. And those can be okay. They can feel a little bit like robotic to me. I love just
Yep.
but I've also been on podcasts where you're kind of like meandering around the conversation. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, give me some lane ropes, in the pool. Like,
Yeah.
let me stay inside a lane here.
That I've also noticed the feedback that I get on my podcast because we've been on, oh gosh, I don't know what our numbers are. I know we've produced at least 110 episodes. We've had hundreds of thousands of people view the show over the last several years in particular. As I've pivoted to be more in the SAP space, it just grows greater and greater. And I love to have the conversations that people can kind of like, it's almost like they're um hiding in the corner out, like you said, like hiding in plain sight, watching us, listening to us, and we bring value to them and their business and their lives. Like that's always my heart in all these conversations. And so there's also sometimes if you're open for it, like, okay, so when we talk about like what's going great in the business, that's amazing. How does that affect you and your family? But also the challenges in the business, like right? There's that element as well. I was just at a mastermind meeting and I just signed a big seven-figure client. And one of the things that my coach asked me, she's like, so how does your husband feel about it? And I was like, great. But also I felt like, because I live with the biggest cheerleaders on the planet in my house. Like it's amazing, right? Between my kids and my husband. But also felt like there was an unspoken like, ooh.
Yeah.
Hooray.
Oh, good. The bridge got built. Yeah, I know the feeling.
Oh, we went from 600K, hooray, to 1.8 million. Okay, let's
Yeah.
go. Like we
Yeah. My here's kind of where I am personally. It was only a year ago when I first started this business. My first client fell through on me after like 4 months.
Yeah.
I had like two tinier clients, but that was like my main one. And in the middle of that, right when that happened, was the day my wife quit her job to go
Oh,
be at home with the kids permanently.
yeah.
Not great timing. So we went through that. And now it's been a year and a half, and like we're IVF parents. We're 2 for 2 on IVF transfers, and we got a third one in the freezer. And it's kind of like this is the part I'll leave off the podcast because it's just too personal. But like we've been working to the point where it's like financially, can we take the hit of another transfer and still not clean out our savings? Can we do a transfer and have the AC breakdown and the car breakdown all in the same week and then have a vet bill and be okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so like we've been working towards that, which is
Right.
mostly why I haven't been reinvesting as much in the business, except very cautiously. It's like, no, just pile it up at home. Like I'm not putting it in the
Yeah.
business right now. My personal goals are way more important than building the business.
Yeah.
Even if building the business would help with that, that's more of a risk. I'd much rather have the baby now than the money now.
Yeah. There's definitely a balance and there's seasons.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I
What,
mean,
what what I did when my kids were little is very different than when they were babies and toddlers and all that. Like it's very, very different than what I'm willing to do now because when they were tiny and I moved from like the corporate world
yeah,
and I was working 60, 80 hours work week and traveling before I had kids, I was like, there's no way I'm ever trading my children for money like
yeah,
that. Right. And so I had like I had my absolutely hell no conversation starters that I would look at my husband. I was like, sorry, that's not happening. And so when I retired pretty young, like early 40s, there was a little bit of like, whoa, wait a minute, what did you just do? We have these babies. right? And
Yeah.
we had a baby, we lost a baby, we had another baby. Like we have these little ones, and we had a teenager at the house at the same time. Like we have these little humans that are 100% dependent on us, and it's our job to do a great job for them. I'm always going to put stuff in the framework because it just makes sense for me. And I always say to the audience, it's okay if it's not your framework. I was like, this is where God's called us. And so we're going to be obedient to the season that we're in. So I'll just say that to you, like, great job recognizing the season that you and your wife are in and what's appropriate for right now. I'm not saying you're doing anything inappropriate, but
Yeah,
just
totally.
acknowledging that, because I mean, yeah, I just worked with a lot of people who didn't see that. I've chatted with I've chatted with literally thousands of moms and dads over the years because we also homeschool.
Oh yeah. I was homeschooled
Tears
for,
running down their face, regret and shame, and
oh God.
all the negative emotions that would say, Anita, I wish I would have homeschooled, but I
Well,
just couldn't. I didn't, all the reasons, money, good job, blah, 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 all the stuff. And I was like, stop, don't do that to yourself. Like, you're just on the path that you're supposed to be on.
yeah.
So don't compare it to my path. If
Oh,
it's like everything in life. If we really wanted it that badly, we would have figured out how to make it happen. So I love encouraging parents along the way, like just be where you're at. Like whether you know God or you don't know God, it doesn't matter. Like he still has a plan for your life. You still have stuff you're supposed to be doing. And so like, great job, Chris, you and your wife.
thank you. I was saying I volunteer with the church youth group, which is partially self-interested because I'm trying to learn teenagers with lower stakes before I have my own. But partially like it's the old cliche, like they do more for me than I do for them.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel like I was saying the exact same thing to them last night because some of them are really high achievers and they're stressed out as hell because that's just what it's like to be a teenager now. And it's like, nope, you're where you're supposed to be. Like things happen for reasons. Um, and so
How old
yeah,
are your kids now, Chris?
mine are 3 and 5.
Okay, cool. Can I give you a
I
great
look so tired.
encouragement? Right. No, actually, you don't. You look fabulous.
Okay,
Can I give you a great encouragement about toddlers and teenagers?
sure.
Toddlers and teenagers go through the same thing, just as different at different intensities.
Yeah,
So everything your toddlers are doing right now, we want to pull away from mom and dad. We want to be independent. We want to be our own person. Your teenagers are actually going to do the same thing. Just the stakes can be a little bit higher, and the intensity of the way that it works out. Now, you can kind of take that both ways. It could be more intense as a teenager, or it could be more intense as a toddler. It's totally based on you and the
yeah,
dynamics of
that's
the
the
family.
kid. The kid kind
Yeah,
of
yeah,
moves that
yeah.
one.
But the great news that is because you will have already spent that time encouraging them, loving them, raising them, building their character, disciplining them in a godly man, like all the
Yeah,
things, because you've done that by the time they get to those stages. And so let me just encourage you, keep spending time with them. Because
yeah,
when you get to those teenage years, you will already have the foundation of a solid relationship that will allow you to pour into them and like in the church, right? We have other people that pour into our kids. That's biblical. Um, so
that's what I'm
that,
doing.
yeah,
Pouring into
yeah.
other people's kids now.
Yep, because sometimes you can say the same thing 1,000 times and they're like, oh my gosh, did you know that Anita just told me this? And they're like, I just said that to you 5,000 times.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So know that the teenage years are, I mean, I've had both. I've had some amazing, mostly amazing, and then I also have a stepson, and that was very hard on him because not by choice,
yeah.
he was removed from his mother's house and planted into our house, and there was a lot of dynamics that were going on there. So we
Mm.
loved him through it. It turned out amazing. It was not amazing in the middle of it, but
Yeah.
I can say from experience, like, keep going, you got this.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Okay.
The best moment of my day is always when I come wrestle with them when I get done with whatever.
Yeah, so
And
fun.
sometimes the worst moment of my day is the last 5 minutes of bed. I'll be honest. This is how I am. But I
Like,
enjoy all of it
go
though.
to bed. Yes, you do.
Yeah, exactly.
Mom and dad want you to. Yes, you do.
It is 10, dude. You're 5 and it's 10. It's time. But anyway,
Yeah, yeah.
we're cutting into our podcast time
I-
because I got a client connect at 3. I want to make sure I'm on time too.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to actually pause the recording and restart so that we do the intro. I have an
Yep.
intro and outro that I already
Love it.
talk about and that we already tack on to the episode. So we'll just kind of get right to it. And
Right.
then just to, it looks perfectly fine to me, but I just want to make sure. Chris Leonard, is that right?
That's me.
Just want to make sure I got that right. And then noimpediments.com. Is that your No
That's me.
Impediments is your organization? Okay, cool. So let me do this. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Wealthy SAP Consultant Podcast. I have actually kind of a long-term friend now of mine that we're getting reacquainted today. This is Chris Leonard. He's going to talk with us today. Oh my gosh, you guys are you're in for such a treat as Chris and I talk today. So he has an organization called No Impediments, and we'll talk about his business a little bit more in a couple of minutes. But Chris, welcome to the show.
Hi.
Thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to get started. We had probably one of the longest intro ones I've ever had just because we had so many great things to talk about. But welcome to the show today.
Thanks so much, Anita. I'm thrilled to be here.
Yeah, awesome. So, Chris, why don't we go ahead and just dive right into it? Can you tell the audience a little bit of like your background and your business and where you are today?
Sure. Gosh, I have to leave a lot out because I have too many stories to tell. When I was a kid, my dad actually said the job you're going to do when you're 40 hasn't been invented yet, and I guess he was mostly right. Because I didn't know what an agile coach was, and neither did anybody else in 1989. And then I became one, but that actually wasn't my first career. I started out in the music industry. I live in Nashville, like so many other people who moved here. I came here to run away with the circus, and I did it pretty successfully. I cold called my way into an industry you're not supposed to be able to cold call your way into. And went out on the road as an audio engineer, kind of switched from the contractor side to the artist side. And then the recession happened in 2009, and a lot of work dried up, and I had to start moonlighting with other things. My dad had actually been a business coach and consultant and worked from home in the 90s when no one was working from home. And I was homeschooled for a minute, as we were talking about, during that same period. And I would do my work in the same room. I'd be writing a paper next to my dad on a consulting call.
Yeah.
And I guess I learned things I didn't realize I was learning, and also did weird things like read Good to Great by Jim Collins at the
Oh,
age
yeah.
of 12. What kind of kid does that? Like, my parents probably should have been worried about me at that point, but I think they actually probably thought it was a good thing. So when I eventually found my way into project management and other more corporate type of work during the recession, I found I had a weird knack for business that I had no idea I had because, again, I'd wanted to run away with the circus my whole life and had had a pretty good time doing that. So for a decade or so, I just sort of ebbed and flowed between corporate world and business, music business world, until finally I decided to get off the road and have kids because I met people who were in their 60s and had kept going down that touring life. And they're not all of the time, but I'd say 19 out of 20 of those people, their family life was a disaster. And I knew if I was going to finally have kids, I didn't want that for me.
Yeah.
I wanted to have a great relationship with my kids in my 60s, and it didn't look like that was really in the cards unless I got super lucky. And I don't think I'm going to beat those odds. Okay, so that takes us to more or less the present day. I learned about how to be a project manager, then scrum master, then agile coach, then transformation consultant, all pretty quickly between 2016 and 2020.
Yeah.
And then once I got down that path, I thought someday I would probably become a business coach or an independent consultant of some kind because the people I knew who were best at that were doing that and they seemed the most fulfilled.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a someday thing that I'll do when I'm ready. And then life had other plans. And in 2023, I found myself unemployed. And as I was casting around in my network for jobs, my first 2 clients just landed in my lap and said, "Man, I can't hire you as an employee, and I don't know anybody who can either. But I want to hire you as my consultant. When can you start?" And I was like, "Okay, I guess God thinks I'm ready." So I decided I was ready, and I went and took the plunge. My business, No Impediments, is about getting teams and people out of their own way. I help so many times big, clumsy bureaucracies that can't get out of their own way
Yeah.
to do just that, to start thriving again. That's what the no impediments thing means.
Yeah.
There is nothing blocking me. I am moving forward.
Yeah.
It also, on most development teams, if someone's going through their morning stand-up, and they end their statement with the phrase "no impediments,"
Yeah.
it also kind of means I'm done talking, which is the other thing I like to do as a coach. So you wouldn't have known it by now. Is I like to say, like, I'm done talking here. It's your turn. Like, tell me about you. So
Yeah.
there, I should stop talking now because that's what I just said.
I I love that. I love that. Okay, so in our kind of like preamble call, we were talking about, Chris, how you have a real knack about being able to see, maybe use the exact words if I get this wrong, and correct me if I'm wrong. Almost like see business where other people don't. You see ROIs like hiding in plain sight. Like the very first time that you and I spoke, you're like, "Hey, Anita, I'm this great guy. I got these things going on. Let's talk. Hey, what's going on? Do you need help?" And I was like, "I don't even know who's this guy. What's happening right now?"
Yeah.
But I'm so glad we've had a chance to circle back around. But tell me kind of like, what are
Sure.
some of your ninja skills that you know that you do better than anybody else?
I can walk into a team of people who are falling behind and burning out and suffering from a lot of attrition. And I can immediately see the things that are holding them back, usually that are self-inflicted or inflicted by that manager who hired me, who I now have to go tell someone something uncomfortable. And I can turn that situation around fast. Usually the first 40 days I spend with a team, they improve by 40% or more.
Yeah.
And it's not magic. It's just that I guess I have an eye for the things that are holding them back. I see where people's roles are out of alignment with what they're doing. I
Yeah.
see where the composition of a team is out of alignment with what they've been charged to do, what they're supposed to be accomplishing around here. I see where in some cases the fundamentals of what somebody is spending $1 million a year on a team to do were actually very ill considered, and that team has been set up for failure, and we need to go change the fundamentals.
Yeah.
Whereas, if you hire, say, a project manager to go manage a team, um, they're going to make that as successful as they can and make the red lights turn green at all costs. But they're not probably going to tell you those hard truths, and they're definitely not going to have the strategic perspective to tell you what it looks like we should be doing here instead, and how
Yeah.
you're going to make that pivot work.
Yeah.
Whereas for my clients, that's something I'm very comfortable doing.
Yeah.
Um, so I typically will walk into a team where everything is behind, everything is on fire. They're losing people like crazy. The people they do have, usually the staff members who hired the contractors, are, working 80-hour weeks and are burned out and grouchy. And 50, 40 days later, everything's a lot calmer. Cycle time is down, throughput is up. There's smile on people's faces, and you hear laughter at meetings again.
Oh,
That's what I love to bring, because beyond the impact of it, the personal dimension of seeing people lower their shoulders a little bit, feel
yeah.
calm, connect as people at meetings again, and like enjoy being together with their coworkers for sometimes the first time in a decade.
Yeah.
That's what's worth it to me. These people's kids know about the difference I made in their lives because something is different when their parents come home. That's like what fuels me to do this.
I actually love that. So if you're listening right now to what we're talking about, I'm going to kind of separate out a couple of things that Chris described. So as a project manager, oftentimes what you can do, what I can do, what those that are listening do, we have the list of 12,000 tasks that have to get done on the project. And in our brain, it's like, well, we got to go from task to task to task to task because like you said, we have to change all the red lights to green lights so that we can get this thing go live or whatever. Now, there's nothing wrong with that skill set. I'm not saying that at all. But what you do, and like my sweet spot are those specifically those SAP clients that are at odds with their channel partners that are several months or years behind schedule, a couple 100,000 or millions of dollars over budget and on the verge of lawsuit. One of the reasons I love doing those kinds of projects, similar to Chris, but in a different vein, is that because I know that I can get them out of that escalation stage in about 45 days, right? And I can get them back on track because what Chris and I are talking about here, like I put it in the language of change management. But what we're always talking about here in this conversation, what I want the listeners to get is kind of the undercurrent of the people component that happens in projects, businesses, whatever you want to call it. Like the people component sometimes is the hardest part because let's just be clear, changing business processes, it can be simple. It's not always easy. Installing new ERP software, it can be simple. It's not always easy, right? Looking at what you just said, like you gave an example, like the company has a oh, how did you say it? Like $1 million on payroll to get this team moving in the direction, but there's like maybe diametrically opposed with the goals that they have to meet, and they're not really set up for success. Like, so the people components are really, really valuable. And actually, Chris, that's probably one of the things that really intrigued me about you when we first met, and then draw me to you even more today as we're talking here, because you really get the people component. So can you kind of drill down on that a little bit more for our audience? Like maybe what are some of the methods that you use, or I don't, talk to me about what's going on in your head right now. I know this is not what we had just talked
Yeah.
about discussing, but
Okay.
talk to me about like the people component, like what goes on in maybe your head and your heart that's like, I see these people are struggling. Anita, I gotta go after and help them do this thing.
Yeah. I notice a couple things inside a team. One is where people are trying to handle with heroics what systems could handle, and no one is building the systems,
Yeah.
right? If you have a team where people want to look good, but don't really have an appetite for the unflashy work of system building,
Oh,
that's a team that is working a lot harder than it has to and doesn't even know it. And until somebody walks in and just says, you need a system for this, and this, and then we're going to be humming around here, they don't see how easy their life is going to be on the other side of that. And look, this goes back to Michael Gerber and the E-Myth. This is not a new line of thinking.
right.
To that end, most of what you and I do has been done before. Like
Mhm.
installing an ERP, again, it's not always simple, but it is a solved problem in the universe. This is something organizations have done before. None of us is like inventing a way to make, oh, I don't know, to make jets fly without using fossil fuels. Like we are not solving a novel engineering problem here. We're solving something that's been solved before, but the variable is the human beings involved.
Mhm.
I'll give you another great example that's more like the leadership angle rather than the team angle.
Mhm.
I once was with a group of teams marketing a major vaccine for a big pharmaceutical giant. And these teams were completely spun up in conflict and chaos, and they were getting basically nothing done.
Yeah.
And what I found out was that they rolled up to two different leadership stacks. And one of them said, speed at all costs. I want to maximize the number of really fresh tactics in the market.
Mhm.
I don't want to ever see anything over 90 days old in the market. I need something new all the time.
Oh, wow.
I don't care if it's just a rehash of something we've done, but it's got to be something new. We can't let things get old. And the other guy was telling the team, I want really, really bold stuff. I don't care how long it takes. I need maximum quality on every campaign. I don't care if you got to go do. And these guys never had a conversation before.
Yeah.
And this, I mean, this company is probably spending upwards of 3-4 million a year on this group of teams. I probably saved them 1.5 million by getting these two VPs together for what it was a 15-minute conversation to say, you guys need to stop. We are not leaving this room, this Zoom call, until you guys agree on what you want this team's priorities to be, because you're sending messages that are spinning not just this team and this investment, but their entire lives into chaos. They go home stressed every night because they're in so much conflict about the priorities that you guys have not agreed on. So
Wow.
let's figure this out. And they did. They solved it in 15 minutes, and
Yeah.
everyone's lives was better immeasurably, to say nothing of how much higher the ROI was moving forward.
Yeah. Isn't it so fascinating sometimes when you talk about the team, sometimes we're upper management, C-level executives are very unaware of how much time the team is spending in tasks that aren't productive, not building systems, stress levels that are so high, like they're not actually tuned into a lot of that. I was like, hey, I just finished a big project that was gigantic. I mean, they had like a $7.2 million software budget for the ERP solution. But one of the guys on the project that I know very well, and I spent a lot of time with him, the amount of emails that he would send me at 12 a.m., 1 a.m. to like almost makes me cry right now thinking about him, because I would spend a lot of time away from the team calls, knowing him, getting to know him and his family and all these other dynamics. And it was like, oh my gosh, like you're gonna work yourself to death. What's going on? He's like, but Anita, I have all these things I have to get done. I have all these clients over here I got to take care of, and I have all these clients and all these tasks and all these things. And he was just quite literally like working his way into a very unhealthy situation for his mind and physically for his body. And I mean, I think the C-level executives are not aware of that. And it's
It's
just,
true.
Yeah. And it's not like they're not aware because they don't want to be aware. It's like, yeah, but we have an output. We have a board that says we have to do, and I'm not knocking any of those things. Like we're
Oh,
all in business to, like, the number one priority of a profitable business is to make a profit. We're not charity here. Um, and so I understand that, but sometimes the human
yeah.
cost is what I'm talking about is very, very high. And so I love that you actually brought that up, that when you work with clients, that not only are they happier and their meetings are happier, but they actually go home and talk to their kids and their spouses, and those relationships are happier as well. Like, that's incredible.
Yes. The other hidden cost I see when executives are staying up all night working, which you see all the time. Oh,
Mhm.
you sent a bunch of emails during what I know is your kid's bedtime, and your kids are toddlers. Like, what the heck is going on here? The the biggest, I think, most toxic thing that does to an organization is every direct report of that person looks at this timestamp on the email and goes, "That's what I got to do to succeed
Oh,
here." And they're either going to select out of that organization because of that and
yeah.
go find somewhere where that's not the case,
Mhm.
or worse, they're going to stay and make that sacrifice, and their kids are going to have to bear the cost of it.
Yeah.
I don't want any successful organization to be doing that. And I think actually most organizations, at the level at which decision making is happening, if they were factoring that into the cost of the decision, they would make a different decision. Not
Mhm.
necessarily we don't do this, but or even we do a different thing, but we do the same thing a different way.
Mhm.
We allocate resources differently. We
Yeah.
take the thing that was at the bottom of the priority list and maybe say we're not going to do it this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
That's
I
so valuable. Yeah.
give you an example of
Sure.
when
Oh, go ahead.
I'll give you an example. Yeah, the nonprofit I serve, I'm on the board of the local nonprofit here in Nashville, and um, they do an annual tree sale. It started out as their fundraiser. Well, they started out as their fundraiser in 2019. Um, that was 6 years ago, and there's been an awful lot has changed in the world since then. And that fundraiser never raised the tree prices, and now, as you look at it this year, they're losing money on every tree once you factor in the labor that they spend administering this thing. It's not a fundraiser anymore.
Mm.
So at some point, an organization has to take an honest look at what it's doing to the employees to keep doing X, Y, or Z that is vital to the business, and
Yeah.
re-examine, is this still actually accomplishing anything once you factor in the human cost of it?
Yeah.
And oftentimes the answer is actually is no.
Yeah. Yeah. So good. Oh my gosh. I would I'd love to dive in deeper. Just based
Yeah.
on time. I'm looking at time. So
Yeah, yeah, so
one
totally.
of the things that we talked about is, let's kind of transition. So you talked about some great things that you do. You talked a little bit about the growth of your business. Talk to me about some of the challenges that you feel like you've faced. And then, as we talked about kind of in our pre-call, if you want, let's do some hot seat coaching. Like, talk to me.
Yeah, let's do it. Okay. Here's what I think it's like, honestly, for almost any solo entrepreneur, solo independent consultant type of person starting your business in the first couple years,
Yeah.
unless you just really draw a royal flush on your first hand of cards. You're you're Edison and you're going into the lab every day trying to invent a light bulb. And some days you get really, really close to inventing the light bulb. Sometimes that client shows up and you sign something that's pretty darn close to your ideal client profile. And it feels good, and you've kept the lights on for the next 3 months. And then some days you go to work and you strike out for 8 hours straight. Some days you're so crippled by anxiety that you stare at the wall for 8 hours. I've had those days before. It's been a while, but I've had one of those.
Yeah.
But mostly, you're trying a lot of experiments and trying to learn from each one. Where I am right now is an experiment with the pipeline management.
Okay.
I've lucked my way into some pipeline. I've had some that I intentionally went out and found. I wouldn't say that I've got a perfected system for it. And now that my time consumption on speaking, podcast interviews, hi everybody, and writing and a lot of the other stuff I do, especially my nonprofit work, is eating up more of my capacity. I need pipeline generation to take up a tinier portion of my capacity. So I've started including a VA in the process. I
Nice.
finally started getting my CRM more organized. I've built a lot more templates and infrastructure and stuff to make this thing work correctly. But is it generating a higher conversion rate or a higher generation rate? Not yet. So tell me not just about like the system you landed on. I want to know more about the process of getting to a system that worked.
Oh, okay. So I'll give you a little bit of like my experience, and then we'll kind of wrap it around to something that'll be valuable for you in your business. How about that?
Sure.
Okay, so one of the things that I do not like, we'll start with that. I get hit up on LinkedIn all of the time, dozens of times every single week. Hey, Anita, you want to come work on this $65 an hour project for SAP? And I'm like, no,
No.
I'm sorry. And I don't say this out loud. I mean, I guess I say it out loud on a podcast. I don't message back anybody or say this because I'm always very respectful. Like, thank you for the honor. But then I think in my mind, you must not really understand the level of expertise that I actually bring to a client, because otherwise you
Yeah.
wouldn't ask me to be on a $65 an hour project. Like, that's nowhere near my rates, that kind of thing. So, what started as this is what I don't want to do. My personality also brought into it. Like, I'm not super salesy. Can you see that about me, Chris? Like, I'm not really, that's my husband's like, he can sell to everybody. He's incredible about it. He's one of those like top 3% in the population of like, he can build a pipeline, sell, and close all at the same time. Like,
He's selling me this mug right now,
he's amazing at it. So number one, I had to design a system that worked for me. I had to design a system that worked for me, my personality style, my business. What I love doing is I love connecting with people. I
Yeah.
connect with people as a leader in a leadership capacity at church. I connect with people on the street. I connect with people on podcasting. I connect with people at conferences and speaking events and all this kind of stuff. I was just on stage at an event, a big stage, and I was talking about a seven-figure client that I just signed. And then I had a line of people waiting to talk to me afterwards. I was like, I love this. I love talking to people directly. So one of the things I did when I started to create my lead gen system is I really wanted a way to have a warm outreach. I also, you might know this about me, I also love to elevate people. I love to elevate people in their own genius, their own success, all this kind of stuff. So the system that I started developing, now I have a couple of offers in my business, so we'll just talk about one of them. So for SAP consultants, that I wanted to be able to elevate them in the marketplace, make them look better, give them more exposure to more people so that they could do better in their businesses, is inviting people to the podcast. So I do a warm outreach, um, nurture them along the way, invite them to the podcast. Then by the time that we know one another and we podcast together, we may have a conversation. Tell me a little bit more about your business. And that might lead to something like, why don't we book a call? Why don't we do a one-on-one call? Why don't we I'll invite you to a master class, all these different things that I have in my business, resources, assets, products, calls, all these kinds of things. I have the ability to say, I want to be able to start out. So here's my heart. I want to be able to start and have a warm connection with somebody. Not all these AI, I love AI, don't get me wrong, but these AI agent generated, hey, first name. Do you know I got a message one time on a DM on LinkedIn, and it was like, hey, name. And I was like, oh my gosh, I just want to let you know that your AI generator is not working. Like, no big deal. I'm not your
Oh,
right
that's so
person
painful.
anyway, but I just like, if nobody else is
Yeah.
telling you, let me be the one to tell you this thing is not working, because it's kind of a big deal, right? So those are some of the things that I did, is I kind of evaluated what I did not like, because I typically work that way first. What do I don't want, and get that out of the way first. And then I started dreaming up. So that's the second part of it. I took time to really kind of like dream up for myself, what would I love to do?
Mhm.
So I identified what I don't want, then I started identifying what I do want, and then I built a system. Now I happen to have a custom GPT that I built that's all around me and my business and my offers and all that kind of stuff. So I started plugging in. I was like, create me an SOP around this thing that I wanted to do. So we started out over the summertime with a very manual process. Go here, do this, this, and I created a system that a VA could follow. And I was like, make it so that I can test it out one time, a handful of times, and then hand it off to somebody else. Because to your point earlier, it's systems that scale. Complexity always fails. Steve Jobs says that. So
Yeah.
said that. Okay.
Love that.
So I have another offer where it makes more sense for those bigger SAP clients. It makes more sense for me to get on a strategy call for them right off the bat. So same thing, warm intro, nurture the relationship as we're making connections on whatever your preferred platform is. You can plug in any platform. I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn because that's where my peeps are, but it doesn't really matter, right? Not in a weird, so the other thing that we're doing, which is really important here, is because I'm connecting with people first and foremost. I'm not pitching. I'm not offering. I'm not selling. I'm not doing any of that stuff. I really want to know people. I want to get to know people. So we're connecting kind of at a heart-centered, like I want to be able to connect with you so that I can serve you. If it's a good fit, let's do this thing together.
Yeah.
So the second thing that I did, because we had a very good success rate with that. We had like a 30% close rate of doing it all manually. And I
Yeah.
was like, this is amazing. Next step is, and this is what we're implementing right now, and our business is scaling all of that. So
Yeah.
for instance, what you might say, Anita, why would you need to scale that? Okay, on LinkedIn in particular, there's only so many connections that you can make every week to protect your account. Well, I want to honor LinkedIn and what their policies are. I want to be able to do that, but I want to be able to reach more. So we've added some tools on top of that can actually scale faster because I now have cultivated lead generation lists that'll say, for this offer, you have 2,500 people that are great candidates. For this offer, you have another 500 people that are great candidates. For this offer, you have another, like if you get real general on your lead gen, what is it? Like the criteria that you use to select, and you start out with like 1,000,000 leads, like that's just silly. Nobody's ever going to reach 1,000,000 leads. Like start with a narrow scope of the people that you know and I already know you know this. This is more for other listeners. Like start focusing on the list of people that you know that you can help solve a problem better than 95% of the population. And so the other element of that is we really focus heavy in all of our messaging on outcome-based results. So what do I mean by that? If I have an offer that says I can help you 3 to 10x your billable rates without getting stuck in delivery. Okay, that's outcome-based language. If I have another offer that says I could take $100 million company, get them out of escalation in 45 days and back on track, then they can double their revenue in the next 2 to 5 years. That's not great copywriting, but it is
Yeah. It's a
outcome-based.
start.
It is outcome-based language that I refine a little bit better. I can say things like, if you're a consultant coach, I'm just going to make some stuff up,
Yeah, so
consultant coach entrepreneur that's stuck at $50,000 a month, and then pain point, whatever the outcome is that I want them to have or that I know that I can get. So see what's happening there is we're building a system around the things that we like to do.
yeah.
And then we're focusing on how do we serve our clients the best? Because to your point earlier, there's lots of business for everybody to go around. There's actually more business, I believe, no matter what the economy says, no matter what's going on, no matter what's going on in the White House or anywhere, like there's always more business for you and more business for me and more business for all the thousands of people that will listen to this podcast, then we could actually all go get right now with more than enough left over.
Can I name that? Because that's an important teaching I come to a lot with my clients.
Yes.
I call that the abundance mindset.
Yep.
The opposite of the abundance mindset is the scarcity mindset, which you can see really well in some old folks in my family, as well as some kids in my family. Kids are great at the abundance mindset or at the scarcity mindset when a pizza shows up, because there's only so much pizza to go around and no more pizza is going to show up.
Yeah.
And sometimes when people retire, they get into a scarcity mindset really fast where they stop throwing things away because they're not making money anymore, and they might need it. I helped my in-laws move out of their old house, and they moved out a box about the size of a refrigerator full of old landline phones that they might need someday. That's how you get there.
Yeah.
We're all prone to it. It is a universal aspect of the human condition.
Yeah.
The opposite, though, is embracing the abundance mindset that says what you said. No matter what's going on in the world, no matter who runs the country, who runs my state, no matter what's going on in the economy, is the Dow up, is the Dow down, there is always an opportunity somewhere, and there is always enough to go around.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even if it's not true that there's enough to go around, I mean, it could literally be true that there's not enough to go around. But if you believe it is, you're more likely to find what there is to go around than if you
Yeah.
believe there isn't.
I actually, in my work in the more like the high impact, high ticket offer space, the more that I am in that space, the more that I see that it's actually the truth.
Yeah, I
Right?
agree.
Just signing a seven-figure client. I know that there are projects in the SAP world that have a software budget of $500 million or $863 million just for their software budget. That's not the budget for the organization or anything. Yes, we're just not aware of it. This is what my coaches tell me all the time. And that's why I pay and invest in coaching, is because each of us as entrepreneurs, each of us as consultants, we need to become aware of what we're not currently aware of. Because when we're aware of it, then we can go after it. We can go
Yeah,
pick up this
exactly.
pile of money. I think it's like Russell Brunson says, like, go pick up the pile of money that you're tripping over right now that's right in front of you, instead of settling for pennies.
Yeah.
Right. And we find this all the time. We find this. I talk to a whole string of SAP consultants all the time, all week long. And the difference is fascinating to me. When I get on the phone with some of them, they're like, nope, Anita, there's not enough going on. There's this, that, the other. I mean, I've talked from
Everyone's tightening their purse strings, they say.
they'll say like, I just came from another country to the United States and there's not enough business here. I came for the American dream. And I'm like, what? Are you crazy? And all the circumstances that they'll go on about, I honor that that's where they're at. I mean that in the most respectful way. And then the next call, it'll be somebody else who are like, oh my gosh, Anita, there's so many things going on right now. Like, it's so incredible. I have all
Can't
these
keep up.
I know. Yeah, I'm speaking, I'm writing, I'm doing this, I'm on podcasts, la 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 la, and I'm working on all these projects. I got a backlog of clients.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yep, that's true. Right.
Yeah.
So the reason I say I respect both perspectives is because both of those realities are true for each of those individuals. That's what their mindset is telling them. And so
Yes.
then that's what the reality that they're seeing when they go out in life. Another way to look at it, if I constantly go around all day long saying everybody in the world is really kind and nice and generous,
Yeah.
I'm going to see this is a principle. It's a biblical principle, but it's a principle also that when my mind is moved in the direction that I want it to go, I'm going to go and see that. My mind is going to make that be the truth. If conversely, if I go around and say, everybody's awful, there's so much this, that, everybody's mean everywhere I go, that's going to be my reality. So I was there for a long time. I'm like, nope, I'm never going back there again. Like,
No.
let's just go in the direction where we know that there's abundance and possibility. So, Chris, as we're wrapping up here, just to honor your time, I know that you have another call to get to, but what questions do you have about implementing and scaling a system for lead gen?
Mhm. How long do you keep going with an approach before you pivot from it? I.e., if you're not happy with the results, how long do you keep, say, iterating on how you're doing it before you say, this just isn't the approach, I'm going to try a completely different approach? How do you weigh that?
I think a couple of things will probably depend on your goals. Like,
Yeah.
for instance, then I'll get real practical. If I have a brand new offer that I'm introducing into the marketplace and it's not producing the income that I'm looking for, and let's say it's a 25K offer, and I need to be able to have that reach at least $100,000 in sale and about a 30% close rate. So those are real practical, tactical ways to say, here's an offer, is it converting, yes or no? Okay. Now in systems, same kind of thing. Kind of decide where your baseline is. A 30% close rate on anything is amazing.
Yeah.
If you're dealing with Facebook ads, do you know like a 2% conversion rate on your ads is phenomenal? You should be like raising your hands going, this is incredible. I've actually hit the jackpot. That means I can put $1 in and Facebook will give me back $2. So we have some and maybe a further conversation that you and I have just in terms of kind of like where the conversation goes, but figure out some baseline metrics that you can trust and that that work for the situation and for the industry you're in and that line up with industry standards. And then you start tracking that over time and say, am I hitting the metrics? Yes or no? What we don't want to do is we don't want to say, I feel this is working or I feel it's not working. We don't want to kind of I mean this respect. We don't want to like make up things in our mind, being like, I'm really amazing.
Yeah.
But you might be, you might not be too. So, right.
Yeah.
So those would be some things to watch for in terms of, but you're specifically referring to like lead gen and close rates.
Yeah,
I would,
specifically. I mean, I can apply some of the same principles to team coaching and
yes,
how a team moves their metrics. But
yes,
for my own pipeline generation, no, I haven't set those baselines.
yeah,
You got me dead to rights there.
yeah. I would say probably a minimum that you're looking for specifically on that lead gen is a 20% conversion rate.
Yeah.
Then the other element to that, Chris, would be what's your close rate? So if you're really good at sales
Mhm.
and you know that you can close, then
Yeah.
maybe you'd be okay. Then you start to put some math to it. If I reach out to 100 people and X amount of people book, and then I know I can close X amount, like, right, so that's a little bit more than we have time for, but those elements are also really important. It's not just as simple as, oh, somebody said it's got to be this percentage and it works or it doesn't. No, no, no. Please don't hear that in this conversation. There's more to it to really understand the other components, because then the other element, Chris, that you're talking about is then we're talking about marketing.
Yeah.
Am I breaking down that my headline is working or not working? Is it my offer that's working or not working? So I'll use practical example. As I reach out to a consultant to invite them to be a guest on the podcast, is that initial outreach doing its job?
Mhm.
Then in marketing, what I want to do is then I go to the next step. And then if I send them to a landing page, does the headline on the page, is that converting, right? So there are when you're asking about conversion, we're always checking overall conversion, but we're also checking all the steps
Yeah.
in the process. Do I want to just real quick for everybody? We don't want the whole process. This is what we do not want to do, no matter what size, no matter what income you're at, doesn't matter. Do not automate the entire process. AI is great for what AI is great for, but we also need human interaction where it's appropriate to have human interaction so that it doesn't get robotic and weird and cold, right? And so make sure that in your touch points, this is probably another piece, is the average person does like one, maybe two touch points. That's probably not you, Chris, because you're a go-getter. I do know that about you. But it takes about 6 to 7 touch points, multi-platformed, they call it omni-channel touch points, to be able to connect with people these days, because people are busy. It's not that they're not saying yes to you. It's just that they haven't even had a chance to get your email because they're like, I don't know, I was putting out fires all day long, right? And so that would be the other element, is having as part of your system, maybe I use DMs in addition to emails, in addition to this, in addition to voicemails. There's a variety of elements. I think there's about 5 to 7 things that I can think of off the top of my head that we would want to make sure that you have in your system so that those we're hitting those leads and just getting the most amount of value out of the work that we did to find the lead to begin with.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well,
Awesome.
thanks so much for having me on this platform. I really appreciate it, Anita. This is a
Yes,
fun
yes.
conversation.
All right, you guys. So, you know me. So if you want to know Chris a little bit more, I'll give him just a second here to point you in the direction to get to know him, get to know his business a little bit better. We'll also make sure and have all the links to all of his social platforms and his business in the show notes down below. But I just want to say thank you, Chris, for what you're doing. I just want to honor you, the
Oh,
way that
thank you
you
so much.
come to the marketplace and serve your clients and connect with people. Like, you're amazing. It's just really impressive to me how open you are and willing to be able to get on the phone and do some hard conversations in order to be able to take your business where it is today from the time we first met. So great job. I'm so proud of you.
Well, I appreciate it. Thanks so much, Anita.
Yeah,
And this
awesome.
is the point where I say my thing.
Yes, go ahead. Tell the audience.
Okay, yeah. So, if you've got a team that's falling behind and burning out, and you're tired of them not thriving and you want to see them thrive, go to noimpediments.com, click and set up a free consultation. I'd love to talk to you about how we can get that team thriving again and how I can help you spot those high ROI opportunities just hiding in plain sight.
So good. Oh, thank you, Chris, for being here. So appreciate you.
Welcome. Have a great one, Anita.
You too. Take care.
Bye.
Well, that's a wrap for today's episode of the Wealthy SAP Consultant Podcast with your host, Anita Anello. We hope you gained valuable insights and strategies to take your consulting business to new heights. Remember, by showcasing your expertise and delivering premium services, you can attract high-paying clients and increase your revenues while serving your customers at the highest levels. To dive deeper into implementing these strategies and overcoming challenges in your consulting journey, schedule a strategy call with our team by clicking on the link below. Stay tuned for our next episode where we'll continue to provide you with actionable tips and advice to excel in the SAP consulting industry. Thank you for tuning in, and until next time, keep shining in your consulting business.